Hope everybody is doing well. It's time for another edition of another exciting edition, and we'll have guests coming in. And hopefully, it might be one, it might be two, it might be three. We never know with the dinner parties who's showing up, and all along those lines. I invite various people, and they come on to talk about the various things that they've got going on in their life. I know one of the things that's going on is it's hot. It's been definitely some heat waves in the country and throughout the country, as well as in other parts of the world. Because one of our founders, Nick Palveda, is in Spain, where they've been having a heat wave and all along those lines. And of course, there's been heat waves there in France and other parts of the world as well. So the weather is definitely hot, and some people say that that is something that folks have to deal with as we get older. I just hit the big 6'4", and we'll hit 6'5" next year, and all along those lines. So I'm gonna bring in John Baxter, see what he's got going on, because he's definitely somebody that knows a little bit about the aging process and all along those lines, and he's got some ideas around that field as well. So I know that you got the anti-aging bed, and who knows, I mean, that might be something that folks can have. I know that I've got a friend of mine that is definitely, actually a couple of friends that know the owners of the Nugget, and the Nugget is like a play bed that a lot of kids are using. It's based here in Durham, North Carolina, and all along those lines. So it's like one of those beds that also doubles as a playground, because definitely the kids can jump on it. They can go in different ways of shaping it and all along those lines. But yeah, it's a company that is based here in Durham, North Carolina. But it looks like you got the anti-aging bed. So you've got to tell me about this bed, because I know the bed that I sleep on is actually uh, not probably the best bed for uh, good aging process, because it can even be one of them lumpy beds. And we know that lumpy beds are not the best for aging and all along those lines. But definitely tell me more about this anti-aging bed and how it was created, and even a little bit more about yourself and everything like that, because a lot of people are probably thinking about that. I know one of the things that I talk about just in my own conversations when I'm not doing the podcasting world is I'm also the historian at an African American Cultural Arts Center. And one of the things that we talk about is W.E.B. Du Bois talked about how there are a number of Black Wall Streets, and he was very impressed with the Black Wall Street in Durham. And one of the things that he was impressed by was the fact that you could really have everything you needed in one place, because it was a thriving community and all along those lines. So he talked about the fact that you could be born at a hospital, which at that time would have been Lincoln here in Durham. You could even live your life until you got to that point of passing, and all in that way, and you could have your insurance covered by an African American insurance company. That would have been North Carolina Mutual. There might have been others as well. But the other thing that he always talked about was this notion that you could get your own suit and your own mattress made by folks in our community. So I know when I do these talks, I often say at times say you didn't have to go to Mattress World, you didn't have to go to Cyril's. You could actually get a mattress made in our own community, and all along those lines. And a lot of people don't realize that, but there were a couple of mattress companies that were African American owned and all along those lines that were around. I know that Thomas Day had a lot of furniture and things around that way, and they were in different parts of the region. I know that when W.E.B. Du Bois was talking, he was talking about having a mattress made here in Durham. He was also talking about some of the great brick masons that we had, like Mr. Fitzgerald, and he definitely talked about the fact that you could get a suit, because apparently people were really dressed in nice suits back then, and even if they went to the grocery store, they were going to be dressed to the nines and all along those lines. So it wasn't just for going to church or going to school, because we know at that time a lot of people were also dressing up depending on what kind of school they were going to. But as Mr. Scarborough, the historian before me, said before he passed, he remembers people literally going and dressing up, even if they were just going for a simple errand like the grocery store or the corner store or all along those lines. And some people want that day to come back, and who knows if it will or won't. But tell me a little bit about this anti-aging bed and how you came about the creation of it. That was just a little bit of my monologue.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Mark. We have an amazing product. This didn't start out as a product; it just started out as a solution. So,
Okay.
we set out to create solutions, and I'm an inventor, and I created the first FDA-approved mattress in the United States, and I have over 100 technologies. So, the it all stems from the bed, and a lot of people know me as the pioneer of the med bed, which is a futuristic health technology that we created and patented, and we do have multiple U.S. patents. So what I set out to do is heal others and help people regenerate at a very fast rate. And the boring common mattress is a commodity. There's nothing sexy or fun about a mattress. Maybe you can have some fun on it, but the reality is most mattresses are just commodities. It's just soft, firmer, foam or spring. And I was in that industry as a lead innovator for over 25 years.
Right.
Realize that that paradigm is just a boring, outfaced, just it's so far in the back of what we are today. We have electric cars per se. We have all this other stuff, but yet the bedroom is a forgotten resource of healing, which is the forgotten pillar of health.
Right.
Exercise, nutrition, and sleep are the foundation, and the missing link, because no one's sleeping today. There's an epidemic that's going on, and just people not sleeping. 70% of Americans have at least one chronic disease, and it's funny and weird because 70% of Americans have a chronic sleep issue as
Right.
well. So there's a correlation between sleep, regeneration, and health. So if you don't have this pillar of the three, and it's the missing link, likely you don't have a lot of the others. Because if you get this figured out, then you'll be able to figure out the other stuff, which just comes like clockwork. It's just easier when you're sleeping better.
Yeah.
Not only do you have more energy, you have more clarity, you have more peace, you have more youth when you sleep better. And the reality is, we have a product, and I have patents. I'm the only guy in the world that has these patents. There was renditions of this tried to be done, but we are the only patents in the world on grounding.
Hmm.
Grounding, if you ask AI, is the most powerful anti aging technology in the world because it's demonstrative. The data doesn't lie. So it's the first time, whether you're taking a supplement or a health product, that you can actually prove it with your own meter because you're discharging. Let me tell you a little background on
Yeah.
how all this happened. Um,
Okay.
Basically, as you know, we have an electrical grid. Everyone
Mhm.
knows about the electrical grid. You just plug into it. You don't have to know how it works.
Right.
There's three prongs in the outlet at your house typically,
Right.
and the bottom one is ground. It doesn't hook into the electrical, basically the AC current, which that could electrocute you. It's just plugged in the ground. But throughout the entire electrical grid, the ground is what keeps the electrical grid safe and complete.
Okay.
Now, when we're talking about our gadgets and the fluorescent lighting, all this stuff does is increase static electricity, and it increases the voltage in my body. If I had a meter right now, it'd show you the closer I reach toward the light, the higher my
Right.
voltage goes up. And the same thing is true with our cell phones and our gadgets. And that is the leading cause of not only cellular disruption, but inflammation. So
Hmm.
you might be trying to do everything right, and you may not realize it, but there's a missing link. People can get this for free for standing barefoot outside, but you'll never get the same effect in 30 minutes as you would in 8 hours sleeping.
Right.
So I'm a mission and passion to purpose inventor. I broke my neck over 25 years ago and refused a surgery, and today I'm about the same as I was prior to the surgery.
Oh
And
wow.
how did I do it? Well, I took this passion that I had. Mainly, it was a dedication to a cause, and basically, it was my God given, um, you know, um, mission that I was given. And I refused the surgery, and then I was sat there for a decade and a half with chronic pain, looking at the ceiling, trying to grasp at straws and why I didn't get the surgery and why I was living with so much pain. And it's amazing, sometimes you see the little breadcrumbs and you follow them. And I became not only an innovator, a passionate innovator in the mattress industry, but in the world at large. I've won pretty much every major award in terms of the future of healthcare. And I can tell you how I got there as well. It's because grounding makes frequency medicine safe and complete. So not only did we take the bed and make it, not only did I create the first FDA approved mattress, I just kept developing.
Right.
And I have a full line of frequency medicine. I have a full line of water systems. I have a full line of light therapy. I have a full line of frequency medicine. I have a full line of supplements. I have a full line of everything. And even the top medical doctors in the world come to my clinic to learn and get our products for even hospital, wellness centers, and clinics. So the thing is, what I set out to do was much bigger than I ever dreamed, and I thought it was a big dream already. But the reality is that with this product called the anti-aging bed at antiagingbed.com, you can get a bed cover and put it around your current mattress. We
Okay.
have mattresses that you can sleep on. We have not only am I well known for mattress innovation, I'm known for safety. So basically, we have the only one of the only products that have no known cancer-causing chemicals in it. So we're not just like front facing, you know, facing like whatever. We're actually doing the little intricate things that no one even sees to make sure you get the best night's sleep. So, sleep, we've got it down. Health, other than a broken bone, don't come see us. I mean, other than that, if you have any major chronic disease or health issue, we have a free scanning technology. And no longer are the days where you have to go to the doctor and draw blood.
Right.
Um, Let me ask you this, Mark.
Yeah.
Uh, I ask this to a lot of people: is like, well, what is the body more? Is the body more made of water, or is the body more electric?
The thing that I've always heard from scientists is the body is predominantly water, and we don't realize how much water it is. But you're probably thinking that it's more electric. But I've always heard the scientists and the folks in health classes back when I was in high school, and that was ages ago. But even now, a lot of times, even on TV, they will say that the body is very much water made.
Yeah, you're absolutely. So there's truth to it. Our bodies are roughly made of 70% water.
Right.
But did you know there's roughly 7 to 14 trillion cells? Do you know how many electrons are in the body?
I imagine it's a lot. I don't know the exact number, but I
13
imagine.
octrillion. 13, the number 13 with 28 zeros behind it. So it's predominantly electric.
Right.
And we can prove it with the meter. You're running at a voltage right now. And it's just once the world sees the body as electric, our understanding of health, medicine, and the future of healthcare will increase 70+%.
Oh wow. At what point did you realize that you were an inventor or very much involved in the innovation space? I've got a acquaintance of mine that I remember when he was back in college, and he lives in the coast right now. Yeah, Otha Swepson is very much still in the coast and has raised a family. I think even grandkids now, if I remember correctly. But I remember him being an inventor because I think he even invented like some sort of clothesline like product and everything like that. But at what point did you realize that you were an innovator or an inventor, as some people would call it, and everything like that? Was this something that happened very early in your life where you were tinkering when you were like 5 or 6, or is it something that you developed much later in life? Because I know that if we think about the famous inventors, there were people like Thomas Edison, there were people like George Washington Carver, there were a number of great inventors in history, and some of them developed that passion late in life. Some of them had it from the time that they were practically born and everything like that. So, at what point did you realize that you were such an innovator? Because, like you said, you got
Well,
that.
I realized the people. I grew up in Indiana, and I realized a lot of the most intelligent people that were perceived to be the most intelligent would always just tell me, "You know what the problem is?" That would be their favorite line. They would say, "You know what the problem is?" And I'd be like, "Okay, thank you for telling me the problem." So I was always inundated about with around people that would tell me the problem, and it would just get under my skin. Whether it's politics or whatever, if you're just out there telling what the problem is and complaining, you're not even part of the solution. So
Right.
the reality is, I was just like cringing at the fact that everyone that was perceived to be smart would, like, if it really means anything to you, if you run across knowing what a problem is, if it really means any little iota, of anything that's relevant or passionate, then you realize, well, I want to find solutions. So that's what I was saying. I created a solution. I was more interested in creating solutions than just finding what I think. Finding the problem is important. Asking the right question is more important than finding the right problem.
No,
If you can ask the right question, then you're so far ahead of finding the right solution. Because the hard thing is finding the right question, not finding what the problem is.
no, that makes a lot of sense. I know that some people that are hearing this interview will be going like, an anti-aging bed sounds like a wonderful idea, but it is also sounds like in some ways, and I'm not saying this to be overly critical, but I know that that's the question that some people will ask, is this notion that it's a field that is very much crowded and everything like that. I know that when I turn on my TV, I hear that commercial for that bed company that does the sleep numbers. I can't think of which one that is. And of course, we just know that Mike Lindell just recently retired from his pillow company, and all along those lines as he was running for governor. But I think he retired from his pillow making company and everything like that. But there are a number of mattresses out there, and some of them claim that they have certain benefits, whether it's the sleep number or whether it's the anti-aging that you're talking about, and all along those lines. But so, what do you say when people are saying that this is a
I had
very
I had
crowded?
all those companies in my backyard. Really, I've worked for some of them. Believe it or not, I can't tell you all of the stuff because there's court ordered. But
Right.
the reality is, I had all those guys in my backyard. The reality is, like I said at the beginning, commodities drive me nuts. Mainly because they promise with this marketing pitch, and even Mike Lindell, their marketing pitch is blah 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 blah. Whether it's a cheap product or a good product, it's all marketing, and that's why I cringe at mattress companies, because I would listen to them and I would say, "Oh, it doesn't really sleep cooler. You're pitching it like you're claiming that it sleeps cooler, but that lawsuit back in just like probably 10 years ago or less, they said, well, it sleeps cool like all the cool kids are doing it. That was their claim. But they were making a claim saying it sleeps cooler. But a lot of the claims where the mattress sleeps cooler, it might, when you put your hand on a pane of glass or the cement, yeah, it's cooler. But that's not the product itself. That's just because it was at a cooler temperature than your body when you laid on it.
Right.
So a lot of people make these claims, oh, there's gel in the mattress, or there's this, and it's actually not true. And a lot of people got sued on that claim in the mattress industry. So then they say, well, it's cool like all the cool kids are doing it, not like it'll cool your body, but you made
Right.
the claim like it was cooling your body.
Yeah.
So the sad thing is we're inundated with a lot of marketing in this world, and the sad thing is that stuff is why one of the reasons why I wanted to create something proven, a proven health technology, because the fact of the matter is that is all garbage and commodity.
Yeah.
So between one person's claim that they have an adjustable firmness, well, what happens if you find your favorite firmness? You don't change it. You're not
Right.
changing it every night. So the reality is like, yeah, another marketing gizmo. What if you just found the right mattress? Would you have to change it with a number? No. So there's all these gimmicks employees to sell mattresses, whether it's a water bed or a spring bed. We center ours toward health and proven health technologies, and that's why no one had an answer for me in that industry, and that's why I broke away. And then I was in wellness, so I
Right.
broke away from that industry because I didn't like that stuff.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, I got a nephew that's going off to college, and I had an intern over at the Cultural Arts Center that I work at. He's actually going to Rice in, I think he's leaving tomorrow, and everything along those lines. But I know a lot of times when college kids go off, they're trying to figure out the cool bed to get, because a lot of times they'll have the bed that the university supplies to them, and we know a lot of times those are just the regular old hard mattresses and everything like that. But as they get their own place or their own furniture and everything, some of them will be rushing off like I did when I was in the 80s. I did not have a water bed, but I remember some of my classmates had water beds because that was supposed to be the hip thing to do. And I also remember that there was a time, even though I don't think they're as popular now, that bunk beds used to be popular. I know the military still uses them, but I know that they were popular and a lot of kids wanted them back in the day, but I don't think that they are as popular as they used to be. But maybe I am wrong because I'm not in that industry and everything like that. So are bunk beds and water beds still popular, or have they become less popular than they used to be?
Yeah, water beds really tanked. It was in probably the mid '90s. There was a big lawsuit where a guy did have a patent on it. Everyone infringed on his patent. Then it just went vanished, And then and I know the actual creators and I was in that deep with a lot of people in that industry. So the reality is people didn't like the wavy motion. It could that actually could you could set the dial on the temperature of the water. So that was a little bit different, right? Because you could actually
Right.
change the temperature of the water. You can actually turn it up. So I mean, in that sense, you could say it got cooler. So I like that claim. Uh, what I try to say is like basically whatever works for you. You have to. It's a personal item. It's like
Right.
either driving a bike or a car every day. You want to make sure that it fits you in so many ways. It gives you support and comfort. So there's two things. Support where you're not a London Bridge. You don't like that's going to hurt your back, and then you need that support, but you don't want too much support because too much support will create spots where there's less circulation, pressure
Right.
point. So you really want to get the perfect mesh of comfort and support, and that's really what you're looking for. It doesn't matter. There's a plenty of different things from memory foam to
Right.
they call it gel foam to try to market it as something different, which not really. But there's springs, there's water beds, and so we understand that. And my thing was like our industry was inundated with, I would say, federal mandated fire retardants put into them.
Right.
So in the mattress industry, an organic mattress means nothing. That means one piece is organic. In the food industry, organic means no crazy pesticides and no
Right.
GMOs.
Right.
That is a more higher level because you're ingesting it.
Right.
But when people say, "Oh, I have an organic mattress," it literally means nothing, guys, because there's still a cancer causing fire retardancy federally mandated. And
Mhm.
every time we made a mattress, we would have to spend $8,000, burn it with a flamethrower, and it would have to self extinguish in uh, just under 1 minute by itself. And that's why those fire retardancies were put in there. But really, it was leaching chemicals into the body, and that's why we had to go to Europe. So Europe, and did you know in Europe the standards are much higher for manufacturing food? I just got back from UK last week. You look at the ingredients from a Coca-Cola to a McDonald's to anything, and you're looking at the ingredients, whether it's chips or French fries, they're all understood what they are. It's like, wow, it's simple over there because they have outlawed any carcinogens or any man-made or processed food things in food or product. So if you have a cancer causing anything in the food or anything that's known, here in America, we are guinea pigs. They want to they want to kind of dumb us down with food additives and basically processed food that are pasteurized, not normal for the human body. They want to make sure that we're dumbed down. They put fluoride in our water. They make it illegal over there. They do all these things like food dyes, which make kids' brains not work as good in their development years, like M and M's, like those colors of the food dyes on there. And so the standards in Europe are so high compared to what we have. There's no rules or regulations here, basically. They have a lot of rules and regulations. So I created mine over there, manufactured it, and brought it to the U.S. because I was able to get around in my product had natural waste fire retardants in it. So I am the 1%, and I've been the 1% for my career because my theory is, health. Like I'm a health nut. I'm a health guru. I care about this stuff, and like whether it's me or someone else, like why leach this stuff? You may not drop dead. So it's like, oh, you shouldn't eat. Like who cares about gluten or who cares about this? But it's like you're not going to drop dead the minute you drink a glass of fluoride water or put your body next to cancer causing chemicals. but it's the subtle effect over time. So I teach this all the time. It's like, you won't drop dead the minute you eat a regular piece of bread with gluten in it, but over time your inflammation will rise, and you'll have back pain, and you'll have pretty much inflammation down your spine, because they don't know, like, processed gluten is like, it's like, if you look at what processed gluten is, it's like kind of like adding diamond dust to the bread. You're eating it, you can't taste it, it's good, heck, it's great. But the reality is you're putting a little microscopic microabrasions all throughout your body as that gluten goes through it, and so your inflammation rises. You get gastritis. You get all types of gastric issues because of that. Parasites, bacteria, mold, fungus leach in, and then you're on the merry-go-round, and it costs you money. And that merry-go-round is symptomatic medicine. Symptom medicine is never going to find you a cure. It's only going to give you treatments that mask the issue until the major issue happens. And that's why they swipe your Visa card like crazy every time you get cold or sick. Someone makes money. So the reality is, I'm looking for a world where we end human suffering, and the reality is those little things, because I was injured, and that's why I like to spend so much time with people, because I have a lot of background in this. And the reality is, I'm trying to alleviate suffering, and I'm trying to teach the proper methods.
Have you thought about, or have you reached out to any of the medical institutions? Because I know that both my mom and my dad recently have been to the hospital for various reasons, and along those lines, they are both in good shape right now. But I know that hospital beds are not the best beds in the world and everything like that. And of course, I am here in Durham, which is known as the City of Medicine. That's its nickname. And all along those lines, because we've got Duke University, and there are universities over at UNC, and from other pretty good universities over in Raleigh, like Rex and others as well. But I was just wondering, have you had any luck reaching out to the hospital community? Because it sounds to me like this is a community of beds that you're selling to the private individuals. But I was also wondering whether you were reaching out to any institutions, and whether you were having any luck in terms of getting it placed in places like hospitals.
Well, a lot of the hospital is not fully. So this is what I know about hospitals. Their fiduciary responsibility is just to keep you alive, not in
Right,
good health.
right.
So there's a reality where if they can keep you in a hospital bed and just alive with your heart beating, they make money each and every day. They don't really want you to leave, and that's a scary process. So yeah, I mean, some of this stuff they don't want in a hospital, because I have a veteran. I just got the veteran out of the hospital. They wanted to keep him in the hospital. He came in there because he was sick in
Right.
the VA, and then they were making $20,000 on him a day, so they fought for his body. He walked in, and then when he was leaving, he wasn't walking, so he actually got worse. But the thing is, they were able to bill him $20,000 a day when he was trying to leave with his daughter, who had a power of attorney to get him out. They fought for his body to keep it in the hospital so that they can make money on him every day. So we have a difference between um, um, the money of illness
Right.
versus the truth. And there's a lot of money being made in illness, and that is the trajectory that we keep seeing. And the reality is, in the hospital, yeah, and it'll be out there. It'll be out there for the whole world. You may see me on national TV, and we've won major awards. But the future, I'm part of the futuristic hospital movement.
Okay.
So it's based on your data, real results, and the futuristic health technology that we're releasing. So you may see us in up to 30,000 hospitals worldwide in the coming short time, mainly because the way that things were operating in the past won't be the way they operate in the future. Thank God. And the reality is, no one's making money off someone that dies in the hospital now. You're realizing that the money that you paid in insurance, it was just so that, like, You know how much it really costs to make a pill? A couple pennies in
Yeah,
China.
come on.
You can take any pharmacy. And my cousin is a PharmD from Duke, right out of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Right.
I have doctors all around me and friends, and she's my cousin. And she was the same way. She got out of that industry to run her own compounding pharmacy to make sure people got wellness products and wellness types of pills and nutrition rather than man made chemicals just thrown in there, made from petroleum, which you put in your car to run it. You know, we're putting petroleum, we're putting plastics that are cellulose is just plastic. They just a different name, and you're putting these pills and this stuff in your, and it's basically slowing down your processes, including your endocrine system, and making it difficult for basically putting blockages, minor blockages all over your system. And people don't know this, but I'm a grandfather. I have two grandkids. I have a son that's 28 years old. I have a 4 year old. Um, I'm 50 years old. I've been doing this my whole life. This was my passion and purpose. I've helped so many people, over 25,000 people, just with this wellness product and solution where we even scan your body rather than just going toward the current system. We need to basically realize that our perception is everything, and just because someone tells you something, it doesn't mean it's the truth. It's just the solution that makes them who they are.
No, I'm glad you said
Also
that
very
and everything else. I'm sorry. I'm glad you said that because I know that my dad's Lady Love, and he's been active with her longer than he was with my mom and everything like that. But she is still dancing, and I think Linda Belland is well into her late 70s, maybe even her 80s, and everything like that. Because Dad is 86 and everything like that. But I do know that she has been very active doing dancing even to this day and everything like that. So I do know that sometimes people are thinking that they can be active as they become older. And I know that Dad, who is, let's see, I'm 80, I'm 64, so Dad is 22 years older than me, so he's 86, and he's still very active in his artwork and active in his swimming and a number of other things. But sometimes people think that aging is something that is inevitable, which because we will get older and everything like that, but then our activity has to also slow down. But I know that most of the people I know that are very active that are in their 80s, and actually a friend of mine's one of my best friends. His mother is 97, and I understand she still gets around, goes to church, doesn't use a walker, doesn't use a number of other things, even though she is 97 years of age and everything like that. So, what is your thoughts around this notion? Because I think some people are afraid to get older because they're afraid that they will wind up in the nursing home and that they will have to retire and be inactive and all along those lines. But I know a lot of folks that are still actively working. One of my other jobs, I mentioned the cultural center, but I also work for a testing company, and I know that there are some people because part of it is done on the computer. That and even when we were on location, they were still doing their job well into their 80s, and there might have even been some that were pushing near close to 90 and everything like that. But they were keeping their brain engaged so that they didn't have to uh, um, gotta like get retro go in retro motion and kind of like go into negative action and everything like that. So just your thoughts around the concept of aging, because I think that sometimes we are mistaken that we are going to inevitably get older and that we're going to head right to the grave, and we do know that death is inevitable for everybody and everything along those lines, but we don't have to rush the process is what it sounds like you're saying. But I'd love
Yeah,
to
what
hear.
I'm saying is like it's all about aging gracefully, right?
Right, right.
And the reality is what you put in your body has everything to do. Like so, I've been an advocate. I have a nonprofit to save the bees. I realized what was man-made was actually injuring people. Like if you put man-made products in you, your body doesn't uh, is not the one forcing man-made products in you. You are. So the reason why the older generation is some of them are very active, and the younger generation is kind of dying off because they had a foundation when foods were more natural.
Right.
The current generation, I'm dealing with a guy that his 8 year old, 6 year old son has diabetes. So, when you put man made food into your body when you're a young kid, it's different than some of these 80 or 90 years old. Did you know that, like, and this is just animals in general too. You can look at the trajectory even from animals. The average basically golden retriever got to an age of 18 years old in the early 1900s from eating table scraps. So the
Wow.
average golden retriever only lives 9 years old now. So its life expectancy cut in half by eating, processed dried food, not table scraps. That is kind of what's happening. So even in the 1920s, like Henry Ford era, right? He was 90 years old. There were people who were living older, eating just apples and corn and stuff like this. Than today, where we they keep us alive, but really the life expectancy dropped around 60, and so you're kept alive to pay bills, but you're not aging gracefully. So that should be your warning sign right there. We want to age gracefully. We want to make the right decisions. I have a friend that this lady is 97 years old. And I said, "Well, what's your secret?" And she said, "Well, I knew from a different era that if I wanted to age, I would sit in a room and worry and think all day. But I decided not to worry and think all day, and that is the secret to aging gracefully too. Your mindset is part of it. The food you put in your body is part of it, because anyone could worry themselves to death. And even they say, even like the big C word, cancer, is caused by mental. The mental projection on yourself a lot of times is creating the issues like maybe depression or something like this, where your body is not able to live its God-given potential per se. So it's being forced into something that it's not, and that's causing cancer too. So your mental state is important, your physical state is important, what you put in your body is important, and staying active. So just keep it simple: exercise, nutrition, and sleep, key foundation, and then from there, the rest. We're in an evolving. I'm in a very evolving, high tech, advanced technology space. We have peptides, we have exons, and we have injectables too. We have a whole 9 yards of oxygen and hydrogen generators that you breathe. We have I created hyperbaric chambers with 9 technologies. I have sauna pods. I have med bed pods with 9 technologies. I have so much stuff, and that's why I said I was chosen for a big rollout of a new version of a hospital. So this is happening worldwide, and the reality is like, you guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm John Baxter with Anti Aging Bed. We are relaunching everything in a global platform, and I'll be working with the top people in the world to transition from this current, things are breaking down model. They just changed the food pyramid. I don't know if you knew. If you did the when we were growing up, if you did the food pyramid, you likely have diabetes. It was
Right.
set to give you a health issue. They've actually changed it now to saying, like, if grains and bread, it turns into sugar too, turns into glucose. Of course, if you're taking a cola with like 86 grams of sugar, and then you're eating a sandwich with the bread turns into sugar, you're double dosing your sugar and your glucose. And what is glucose? It's glue. So if I could say anything, and I learned this from close friends around me, stay away from bad oils.
Right.
Right? You've heard this. Stay away from sugar. Reduce your intake of even the new food pyramid. Reduce your intake to try to eliminate dairy because of the calcium, which is the main reason for heart attacks. And grains. So if you can remove the grains, the sugars, and your life will change. And bad oils. Those three things have killed more people than all the wars combined annually. So annually, if you calculate all the wars the United States has ever had and the death, we have more deaths every year annually over bad oils, sugar, and grain. So what is the war on? There's a
Yeah.
war going on. All the wars combined from American history, there's more deaths every year from bad oils, sugars, and grains. And what's the real war on? You ask yourself.
Yeah, you mentioned that and everything, and I think that I read somewhere, or maybe even saw it, or maybe one of my friends told me this. But I know that I've got friends that are lactose intolerant, but apparently that is a epidemic that is going on in certain cultures and everything like that, because a lot of people are lactose intolerant or become lactose intolerant as they age and everything like that. So I was wondering what you're hearing about this notion of more and more people becoming lactose intolerant, particularly as they get older and they can't necessarily do milk or do ice creams or do some of the other milk based products, whether that's cheese or other things as well. But I
Yeah, I
think that
mean,
I did read that there was a influx in people that were becoming lactose intolerant.
yeah, it's pretty obvious that a cow's milk is made for a calf, a baby cow. It was never designed for a human body. We may perceive that that was designed for us, but a mother's milk, our own mother's milk, was designed for our body. So we're taking another animal's milk and saying this is the norm. But the reality is that once that milk is not raw, it's processed. They do all these things. They might as well inject antibiotics and steroids into the milk too, and fill it with disease. So the reality is we have an issue. Women have osteoporosis. Why? Because they're drinking milk. But I thought milk gave you strong bones, right? So there's some misconceptions that we realize and it's coming out. Don't take my word for it. Research it yourself. But dairy, if you think about it, if they're adding fortified calcium minerals, the main thing with men with ED, the main thing with people with heart attack, the main thing with people with a lot of oxidative stress and tightness. So you have magnesium on this side, which they've just totally eliminated out of the American diet. And then on this side, you have calcium. So how does that work? Well, there with the presence of magnesium, you can dissolve calcium. But if you take magnesium out of your diet, like they have in all of our foods, you're left with something that makes you tense and basically extra calcium. Think of a coral reef. A living coral reef is one thing, but a dead coral reef is just white, dry, calcified, living flesh. So if they put more calcium in our body, right, we have turned more calcified.
Right.
And every disease follows the calcium pathway. You're learning all types of stuff today. All diseases follow the calcium pathway. So if they add fortified minerals in our bread, fortified minerals in our milk, did you know that ever since we were a kid, every time you added milk to your coffee, every time you ate cereal, that calcium is still in your body unless you use the presence of magnesium that can slowly dissolve that extra calcium. So if you want to know why there's so many heart issues, it's because of excess of calcium. Once that calcium sets into your heart cells, your cardiac cells, what really happened with that tear? Well, you had calcified cells in your heart, which is like I said, a dry coral reef, and so that tear happens because it's excess of calcium in our body. So, what is the first thing that the doctors do when you have a heart attack? They give you an IV full of magnesium. So, they're hiding healing right there in the sense of what is the other thing they give you? And you maybe went to the emergency room, you may have a health issue. What solves everything a lot of time? They give you an IV, right,
Diabetes.
of sodium. Sodium, once you get the IV of sodium, you feel like, oh, I feel so much better. Well, that could be the missing link too. There's a difference between table salt and sodium.
Right.
Table salt was manufactured to almost injure people. They heat it to 12,000 degrees, and it is almost poisonous at that level because you can't take too much of it and you swell up. But did you know sea salt? You can never take enough sea salt. It'll just go through your body. So the reality is real salt, which is like pink salt, Celtic salt, one of these other salts, sea salt, versus that table salt, which will put you in the grave. There is a vast difference toward the average person's understanding of this. And the FDA did a study with over 15 million people, and in that study, they found out that the perfect amount of sodium is 9,000 milligrams a day. Well, those same people said that you need at least 1,500 milligrams of sodium, which is not enough sodium. Our body is electric, like I said.
Right.
So just taking, if you're on statins or blood thinners, did you know taking 9,000 milligrams of sodium, which is the sea salt type, the fresh real salt, you can't overdose on it, and it's not bad for your health. But they've convinced us that table salt is good for you, when in fact that is the culprit.
Yeah, that sounds like the culprit and everything. You mentioned that you're also involved with Save the Bees, and I know because I'm not that far. I think you said you had a cousin that either went to or attended Duke at one point, and I'm actually maybe a block and a half away from Duke University. And matter of fact, I live in an apartment complex named after Duke and everything like that. But I was just wondering your thoughts around the importance of bees, because I know right here in Durham we've got Burt's Bees, which is a bee uh, company and all along those lines, but they do a lot of, I guess it would be considered makeup and all along those lines. But I just wanted your take on the importance of bees and the bee industry and everything like that.
Yeah, so realize this, guys. The last two things Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein were working on before they died was, what would humanity do when there were no more bees?
Hmm.
And if you look at the pollination cycle, right, all of the most important foods that we eat, all the most nutritional foods that we eat, require a pollinator. And I'm not talking corn. I'm
Right.
talking apples, fruits, zucchini, cucumber, eggplant, tomatoes, bananas, even coffee.
Right.
These all require a little honeybee. That's nature. That it's God's gift, because these things go around and pollinate. I've been to China where people are taking a feather duster and pollinating themselves the apple trees. It's scary. It's a scary place. So you realize, wow, like if there was a famine for nutritious food, there would be an attack on bees.
Right.
So the reality is, all the different presidents heard about me because I was calling the White House every day, every president, and no one did anything about it. And so I started my own Save the Bees nonprofit. And federal, they're not going to do anything about it. But the reality is, like, it's up to us to do something about it. So I have bees. I have bees here in my office. I have bees at home, in my backyard. And you wouldn't believe the amount of heck that people give you, HOA, to, people that want to start stuff with you. They have confused a honeybee with a yellow jacket.
Right.
Just because you got stung and you say you're allergic, just realize you probably got stung by a yellow jacket and you're blaming it on a honeybee.
Right.
Honeybees are soft and as gentle as your pets. You can pick one up and they're not going to sting you. You do that to a yellow jacket and it's stinging you. So they look very similar, but realize honeybees are your friends. They're the ones pollinating. Those yellow jackets are just stealing things. So wasp and all those others, they're just stealing things. But honeybees are the lifeblood of pollination. And
Right.
if you have no pollinators, you have no humans. So the reality is, it's an important endeavor to realize not only where our food comes from, sustainable food sources, and that is health. Food is thy medicine, right? Where did Big Pharma get their name? Well, it came from the farm. The farm, the food is medicine. All they did was put a pH on there, and they called it pharma.
Right.
Big Pharma. So realize, it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to everyone to realize that, health is in your reach, and
Hmm.
it's based on your choices.
Yeah. I've got an interesting story that you'll enjoy. It actually involves my dad, and like I said, he's still living and is an active artist. And he's a big advocate of turtles. He's a big lover of turtles and everything like that. He used to have a big land tortoise at one point, Buttercup, and all along those lines. But at one point, his grass was overgrown and everything like that. Part of that was he was doing that for the turtles' sake and all along those lines. And the neighborhood complained and everything like that. So this is where you'll enjoy the story. Dad decided that he was going to go, I think, in front of the city and get a sign that basically declared that particular front yard a sanctuary. So it became an animal sanctuary and everything like that. So that's the way that he got around the complaints that he got from the neighbors, was he declared the front yard an animal sanctuary and all along those lines. So that was actually an interesting way of him getting around the complaints that he was having and everything like that. So he had a nice little sign that said, "This is an animal sanctuary."
Well, think about this. I had, like I said, I'm an inventor. I've reached out to anyway. I'm an innovator, and the bees really fit the mold there too, because you're solving big problems,
Right.
right? And you realize, like, if you go to a foreign country, all the land is very well maintenanced and looked at. But here in America, we take a lawnmower and we cut our grass,
Right.
but there are no flowers or anything on that grass, so they lose the ability to have extra food sources.
Mm-hmm.
What used to be a dandelion is killed because the weed the weed killer. So what used to have a dandelion where a bee would eat from, we all have perfectly manicured lawns, like we're a golf course, right?
Right.
But does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense. If you go to a different country, they're not really wanting to cut grass. Just letting you know. Visit some other countries. They have maintained their yard. Most of them have a beautiful like flower garden that has rocks, and they don't really mow grass a lot. So the reality is, here in America, we have a John Deere. We get on our lawnmower and we cut our grass. But what are you really doing? You're just spending money on more gas, and you're cutting uh, grass down. If you have cows and you have things that you need to cut that grass down and give it to, that's one thing. But also, you have to be an advocate of just like, why not have something sustainable in your yard? Why not turn all that grass into an edible food forest? Why not turn all that grass into something that makes sense? Because right now it's a there's a paradigm where people are starting to do it, but
Mm-hmm.
because they've realized themselves, I'm getting up every week and cutting my grass, or I'm paying someone to cut my grass. I mean, what am I really getting out of this?
Yeah.
You're not getting anything out of this.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know that one of the things you kind of alluded to earlier, and Pod TV is a global network and everything like that. How much of the mattresses are made in the United States, and how much? Because I know even the current president talked about this made in the U.S. kind of background and everything like that. And how much do you actually have the mattresses made elsewhere and everything like that? Because, like I said, I am here in North Carolina, and I know that there was a time that North Carolina had a very active furniture market. I think it's still active to some degrees, but not as active as it used to be. And all
Well, I'm
along
going to make your day. I'm going to make your day because our basically most of our bedding and the technology in our bedding is made in North Carolina, in Charlotte.
okay,
So
okay,
the reality is, I am USA made. The mattress is not, because it's very difficult in that industry to make clean products because the fire retardancy issue. Because uh, the large companies would rather save 20 to 50 bucks per mattress to put that and use the cheap stuff, which is that fire retardant material. But most of our products are bedding accessories.
right.
So you can get my health technology by putting it on your existing mattress.
Mhm.
And so I would say right now, out of 100 products, we're about 85% USA made. At
Okay.
one time, we were closer to 50%. So we've made, um, this is an evolutionary company. We've tried to source everything locally, but from the very get go, our bed cover and the patents that I told you about, this is USA made technology.
Good. What's some of the other products that you're thinking about? Like I said, you've got the anti-aging bed. You're doing the stuff with the bees and everything like that. But what's some other products that you are an innovator that folks would be really impressed with in terms of things that you are working on and all along those lines? Because it does sound like your mind is constantly working and you're constantly thinking of new products and everything like that in the health space. So, what are some of the
Yeah.
new things that
So if you wanted to know more, probably more about you than anyone else in the world other than God, you would probably realize that, man, how the body is electric. And we do have a free hair and nail. You would just send us pieces of your hair and a couple of fingernails, and you can mail them to us. You can go to our website, antiagingbed.com, and we will take your hair and nail samples and run it in our machine, and you will get extremely accurate results. Not only does our machine extrapolate more data than anyone else in the world, we take that data and we put it into our own created managed AI, and we'll give you a free AI report of really the real inner workings of your health, and it'll be a health analysis, and basically you'll be able to uh, hear and see and look at things that you would never be able to see. This is the forefront of getting into the frequency medicine side. So if you can find something within your um, analysis, the AI, to make it in layman's terms, you can actually speak to our AI as well. So, can you imagine speaking to something that knows you more than anything else? It's very cool because you can speak to it. And then the reality is there's different protocols on how to get your systems back online, and we have 10 different technology engines, whether it's light therapy, frequency medicine, supplements, water, inhalation. We call that increasing the forces of nature. Yes, we breathe oxygen. What if I gave you pure oxygen? Yes, there's some hydrogen in the air, but what if I gave you pure hydrogen? What if I gave you supplements that were um, more pure, or whole food supplements? We have a whole system. We have hyperbaric chambers, light therapies, different red lights, from radiant red light therapy to actual red light therapy, all types of really cool things. Sleep systems, you name it. Peptides, we have those,
As
and
you
so
talked
much.
about, yeah, it sounds like a lot of them. You talked about the future nature of science and everything like that, and I know that some people, as they get older, they start thinking about even preserving their body and keeping their body preserved until they can get to a space where the health developments have been advanced, whether that's with cancer or whether that's with MS or a number of other terminal illnesses and all along those lines. And I just recently heard that AOC was freezing her eggs and all along those lines because I think she's going out of a relationship, and she's also contemplating some political offices of a grander scale than she's already on. So maybe she'll decide to put off having kids and want to freeze the eggs until a later time. So do y'all do any of that kind of technology, whether it's life preserving or preserving of eggs as well, or is that a little bit too far outside of what y'all do?
Yeah, we don't work on that side of it. We work morely on chronic disease management.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that would be a different side of everything. But the reality is that's for some people, and then we help women with menopause,
Hmm.
more so than that, and anything from early childhood development to working with back pain, you name it. We worked with a lot of veterans. We worked with just a whole bunch of people. You had mentioned basically the black stock market and the black financial system. I work with a lot of these guys already. I've been working with them for years. So everywhere from some of my friends in Ohio to South Florida, there's that I have some of my friends, we're working with them right now. So the reality is that a lot of stuff is coming back for all the right reasons, and it's going to make our country and our communities a lot stronger.
Yeah, definitely going to do that because I know that North Carolina Mechanics and Farmers Bank just merged with another bank, so they'll now be one of the larger African American banks in the country because they just recently merged together. And I think that the bank that's based here in Durham, the CEO will be the head CEO, from what my understanding is. But I'm sure that some of the ones in the other bank will be part of the management as well. I know that the founders of this network, Kim Calhoun and Nick Palveda, one of the things that they talk about is that they wish a lot of this stuff would be taught in our school system. They're really big on fiscal responsibility and fiscal literacy and all along those lines. But even some of the health things that we remember, and you talked about the food pyramid and everything like that. But are you getting this into the school system, and do you think that you will have any luck getting it into the school system? Because one of their reasons for creating this network is they were hoping that a lot of the things that are not taught would be taught, whether it's in our school system or in our media and all along those lines. So I just wanted your thoughts around this notion of this kind of things being taught even to our young people.
Yeah, I think there's a time, and there was a time in early America where they were teaching people a lot more things in regards to science.
Right.
A lot of our corporations have taken away all that ability for us to get the actual education. So we're more along the lines just writing papers, but we're not really getting a whole lot of information that's going to blossom the future generations. So I'm hoping that a lot of the information that it'll get across over the years. Like I said, we're more focused on helping families, veterans, communities, people with chronic disease, and specifically offering AI chronic disease management, because like I said, the average American has one chronic disease. Going back to the 1900s, it wasn't like that. Even when people were poorer and had less food, we still didn't have these major health issues that we do today.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Could you talk about the importance of your company to veterans? Because one of the other projects that I used to be involved with, and hopefully we'll bring it back soon. We've been on about a year and a half, 2 year hiatus, but a good friend of mine, Captain Newborn, created the Road to the Apollo, where he associated with the Apollo Theater and everything like that. But it was a talent competition, but it was also a advocacy program for veterans' rights because he is a veteran advocate and all along those lines. And ironically, even though his name is Captain, he never served in the military, and I don't think he ever had any desire to serve in the military. I think his parents just had and desired to give him that name when he was young and everything along those lines. But he has worked with a veteran advocacy program, Next Level Veterans, and like I said, for about I think 11 to 12 years. So we started at that cultural center that I mentioned, and then we went to another venue in Durham, and then we traveled around the state of North Carolina, and I think some other people took it in other states as well. But it was a talent show where people got to go to the actual Apollo, and we did have some people that had success, whether that was getting on a TV show or getting a performances and national performances and all along those lines. So they did have some people that had some success out of the program in our roughly 11-year run and everything like that. But I do know that part of the reason Captain did it is because he wanted to advocate for the veterans and everything like that. Because a lot of times veterans have been suffering from some serious health issues based on what they ran into when they went into war and everything like that. So I just wanted your own thoughts around your own veteran advocacy, because I've heard you mention veterans a couple of times. So it sounds like you are an advocate for veterans. I don't know if you're a veteran yourself, but it does sound like you're an advocate for veterans. So I just wanted your thoughts around the importance of
Yeah,
advocacy.
so like you said, like there's a lot of suffering veterans, and we have these unique and innovative solutions that are giving them so much relief. So basically, not only am I part of the Veterans Business Association out of New York, we're working with all types of uh, veterans and business owners, and here in Orlando, where I'm from, just so many veterans have become uh, people that use our technology because they're typically not getting they're getting the basic standard of care, like you were saying, oh, some of the hospital beds, it's not much different than a jail cell mat that they're
Right.
giving for $10,000 a month at rentals. But that is, there is a lot of that stuff going on where the veterans they're being used to be billed at extreme rate, but they're not really getting anything of substance. A
Right.
blood test is not going to help them in getting them on a bunch of pharmaceutical drugs. It's really it's a very minuscule way to just say, hey, you have a problem, you start taking these, and and a lot of them aren't getting better, they're getting worse. So the reality is that's how we became known, and people all over the world and here in the US, the veterans have been important. We've helped so many veterans that they want to protect what we created, and they really enjoy it.
Yeah. I know we're going to wrap up in a few more minutes and all along those lines, but there's a couple of questions I ask everybody, and I'll get to those in a minute. But before I get to that, one of the other things that's very important on this network is the notion of the imposter syndrome, and it's a topic that I bring up, whether it's a solo guest as you've been today, or whether it's multiple guests, and all along those lines. But I'm just wondering, because you do seem very confident both in your own development and everything like that. But I know even in my own life that sometimes that imposter syndrome can be a real thing, that self-defeating attitude and everything like that. So I'm just wondering, what advice would you give to people to get away from that, whether that's in their relationship space or in their business space? Because a lot of times we can be our worst enemies and everything like that. So I'm sure even at the times when you were creating this product, there might have been some negative nannies that were telling you all the reasons that you shouldn't do it and everything like that. But it also sounds like you were very positive and you weren't going to let that impact you. So I just wondered, what words of encouragement would you give to folks if they are suffering from that imposter syndrome? Because it doesn't sound like you suffered from it. And also, what words of advice would you give to people that are thinking that they have a business that they would like to create or something that they would like to create to better the world, but they're afraid to go out and make that leap of faith?
Thank you so much for that question. I love it. Essentially, what we need to see is that everything is perception, right? And we can get caught in perception and the wrong perceptions that are not really helping us but hurting us, and this could lead to addiction and all types of things that could lead us down the wrong path. What we need to realize is that we have a 360 view. I know this is hard to grasp and get out of sometimes because I've been depressed, I've been broken. I had a broken neck for 15 years with chronic pain where I didn't sleep. So I realized what what would cause someone to break free of that, and to find your mission and purpose is a hard thing. As you can't go to school and say find your mission and purpose. A lot of people do all types of things to try to find their mission and purpose in life. And if you can look at your past and connect the dots in your past, that may be a good place to start. And it's not always about just your victories. It's about how you got up and gathered your strength to do the next thing. It's always about that. I was a lot of people that get stuck in a mindset. And this is going back to perception. I would say when you realize and you hear yourself, the little negative voice say something negative, I would honor you to say that in English we have periods, right? We have a sentence and a period. You could say, "Oh, I'm so miserable," period, and then you just end it. Don't ever end it like that. You say "but," and you say "and," or you say, "Well, my life is really miserable, but look at all the positive things." Always, always, always tend to take the realization that everyone is going to be struggling. Everyone has things and obstacles that are in the way that their perception would make them believe that they can't get over that hump. But I'm here to tell you, every single obstacle that you come was a gift. You're not gonna get to the next level by stopping, but just by not giving up, by simply not giving up, and working through it. You don't need drugs. Of course, people use drugs for psychiatric reasons, but what I have seen is if you could be mentored or told basically that we're all going through this, and it's about the adversity to get up and do something. This is the skill set that you should try to learn. It's just like if you catch yourself saying negative things or getting into negative pattern, this could be not even from you. You could have got this from someone else. You could have got it from your brother, your neighbor, your parent, and you could be programming yourself that way. I would say try to open up your perception. As much as there's good, as there's an equal amount of bad. As much as bad, as there's an equal amount of good. So realize if you can open up your perception, that if you catch yourself running down the wrong side, like I said, there is no periods in life. There's only commas and spaces. So in life, it's not a dead end. It's not a period. It's a comma or a space in between that to the next thing. So, and I always tell people, like, I'm an advocate for this is to try to understand and even perceive in your perception what your own God-given potential might look like. And if you see it like that, it's like you have something to work toward. If you have something to work for toward, then you have a way. And don't create goals, create urges. So if you create an urge, you're better off than creating a goal. Goals are meant to be broken, and sometimes they're hard to reach. But if you have an intention or an urge, just to move forward along the path of what you like, start there.
No, that makes sense. They say everybody has a great book in them. They say everybody has a book of some sort or another in them. But then there are some people that say that inventions are a more uh, dedicated field, that not everybody has a great invention. But then there are other people that think that everybody has a great invention. I know that Bruce George, who is a YouTube influencer, talks about the notion of genius is common, which is this notion that we all have a genius. One person's genius may be a genius as a chef. Somebody else's genius may be a genius as an author, and somebody else's genius may be a genius as an inventor. So I was just wondering, or an innovator. I was just wondering your thoughts around that. So if somebody is thinking that they have got the next great idea, an idea similar to yours, or maybe they've got a new candle that they want to create, or a new way of doing microwaving, or a new way of doing refrigeration, or something else. Maybe they've got a new, more savvy way of doing a bathroom, and all along those lines. So whatever they're thinking that they would like to invent, whether it's a brand new invention or whether it's an adaptation of an old invention and everything like that, what words of encouragement would you give to somebody that is thinking that they are a fellow innovator or a fellow inventor, much in the way that you are?
Yeah, I would say it's not an easy road. You're picking one of the toughest things you could possibly pick. So, being an entrepreneur is extremely tough. There's a lot of school of hard knocks. Being an innovator, it's a school of hard knocks too. And to get people to believe, I'm an introvert that is speaking to you like an extrovert right now. So I had to go from that to this just because of my belief and passion. So you're gonna have to realize that comfort is not your friend. It's not where growth is. It's about extending yourself, and that's why I said if you have fears, break fears because fears are illusions, and illusions hold you back. But the reality is it's never easy, and so you got to count your blessings and stay positive. The worst things could possibly happen. The Murphy's Law can happen all the time, but you just have to stay strong in your belief and just believe that you can make it happen.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad that you put it that way. I know that on this show and other shows, there have been a number of people that are entrepreneurs that have talked about the mistakes that they've made. Maybe it's not having a mission statement, maybe it's not having a business plan, maybe it's not having a accountant or a lawyer or something along those lines. So, what are some of the mistakes that you have made and that you would urge other people not to make in terms of the entrepreneurial lane? Because I do know that sometimes that can be a difficult lane. I had a past guest. I think this was about 2 or 3 years ago, and he was a advisor living in Dubai, and he knew that a lot of times people would ask him for money or ask him for things to do, and but then when he asked them about a business plan or something like that, they didn't even have a notion of what that was. So that was a reason he knew he wasn't going to invest in their projects and everything along those lines. So I was just wondering, what are some of the mistakes that you feel you have made that you would encourage other people not to make?
Well, I said I probably made every mistake, and sometimes those mistakes a couple times. And I would say just get an inch better every day because in my 25 years, I have a long period of getting an inch or a centimeter better every day. The key is to get a little bit better every day, and wherever the chips fall, they fall. Because at the end of the day, you can't. Rome wasn't created in a day. So how do I chew off something that big? You get an inch better every day. Do something you love because at the end, I told myself, if I figure it out by the time I'm 70, I'll be happy. So do something you love that much that, it's not like, I know everyone teaches success now, but that's that's a depressing state too, because what if it doesn't happen? You have all this passion to do this and it doesn't happen next week. Well, as long as you're doing what you love, then you just realize that you just get an inch better every day, and before you know it, you're on your way.
No, that makes a lot of sense because I am a historian, but also an event planner and an event consultant. And as I was just telling some friends of mine, even when I was doing the blues festival and everything like that, and even when I do our street festival, I'd be lying if I said that I was not nervous when I'm getting on stage introducing the bands, and maybe even sometimes before the event and everything like that. And even when I was doing the Road to the Apollo, but by the time I hit the stage and by the time the show was on, then I was on and everything like that. So sometimes it takes a minute and it doesn't always, as you said, happen immediately and all along those lines. And sometimes you have to realize that you're going to have those butterflies no matter what you're trying to do and everything like that. The last three questions that I ask everybody, and I'll get to those real quickly and you can answer them as fast as you want to and everything like that. And then we'll get ready to wrap up and everything in that space is what is something about John that people would be surprised to know? Maybe it's a hobby. I used to joke in this question and everything like that that I had a ex girlfriend. We're still good friends and everything like that. But she would try to get me to skydiving, and I was not going to skydiving because for me, planes are for a purpose, going from point A to point B, not to fall out of, and all along those lines. But I have thought about doing whitewater rafting, and I've thought about doing other things, and I do love word games. Even that's something that me and my family, my mother and my brother and my two nephews do on a regular basis, and also spinners and other things along those lines and everything like that. But what's a hobby and interest that people may be surprised to know that is a hobby or interest of John's outside of what we've talked about? And then the other question is, this is a global network, so if you can give a message of positivity, and you've given lots of messages of positivity, but a message of positivity to share with our global community. And then last but not least, ways that folks can reach you if they're interested in learning more about this anti-aging bed as well as some of the other products that you've talked about.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Yeah, I would say one of the things is I created my own martial art. So,
Okay.
innovator, right? So, I have over 35 years of Tai Chi, Kung Fu, and wrestling. And I teach people that, it's not about being aggressive and fighting, which I thought it was when I first started, but really it's about obtaining a level of peace and creativity within yourself. Because even Mike Tyson will tell you he was once great, but now he's not that same guy. So have a longevity look at what you do, and I use martial arts as spirituality because I think that's my strength, because that helps you weather the storm.
Right.
And so I look for in my martial art practice, I look to find my creativity, my artistic expression in peace, more so than I think about hurting someone else or practicing to kill. So the reality is I'm a different type of martial artist because I feel like I'm an experienced and learned practitioner. I don't want to get into altercations. I want to learn how to avoid them so they never happen. So, on that sense, and one of the things, like I was saying, if someone wanted to, what the second question you had,
Was
and then
your message of positivity how for our global community? And just really quickly on that martial arts space, I have a good friend of mine is actually the daughter of a former boss of mine and everything like that, but she is very much into Krav Maga, and she has that same kind of philosophy of it being about not a combat practice, but a martial art about peace and spirituality. So she has her own studio here in the Durham area, even though she lives in Chapel Hill with her child and everything like that. But yeah, I know Angela, who has got the same last name, even though we're not related and everything like that. But they are very much into the practice of Krav Maga, and I'm hoping to have her on one of these shows in the near future because I saw her do a display at the cultural center that I'm part of and everything like that. But the second question was if you can tell people a message of positivity that folks would be wanting to hear, whether they were in Bangladesh, because we do have listeners in Bangladesh or Australia or any place in the world. So a message of positivity. And like I said, during the whole show, you've been given lots of messages of positivity, but like a general message of positivity.
yeah, so Mike, it's a dream big, and even if they call you crazy, they're not the ones that are dream big. Don't always seek approval.
Right.
Use discernment because there are some people that appear to be good but they're not.
Right.
So, but and never give up. Because if you can do these four things, the end goal is, like I said, like what I'm after right now is, with all this stuff I've created, is to try to end human suffering, end the illusion, right? Because the illusion is the perception. That's what we talked about earlier. It's like we can win this or we can lose this based on our perception. And that's a hard one to grasp. These are deep things. Study and research, and get better a little bit each day, because we're not going to change our communities overnight unless we heal ourselves first, and it makes it a lot easier. Um, and like I said, don't worry if people call you crazy. Don't seek approval, but use discernment. And that's how we kind of grow. And then from there, we make a better, like, what's the point of this? Like, what's the point of this life if you think about it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to do the most rewarding work, and that's to help people when they're down and out, sick, all types of things. People call me, they stop by all over the world because of my passion a long time ago. And when it wasn't easy, when it was dark, when no one believed in me and everyone said quit, I knew deep down that I had no other options. So the reality is, follow your heart, which is a very hard one for me to even. I could go over this a long time, but if you can't heal yourself rationally, you can only heal yourself emotionally and in your heart. Because at the end of the day, you know, um, we got this one body, and we only got so much time. Make it a good one. And if you wanted to join our team, it's the last one. You can reach me on social media under Real John Baxter. The website Anti-Aging Med on all social media, and the website antiagingmed.com. If you wanted to take advantage of the scanner, the technology, you wanted to learn more, you want to be a part of our group, we have over 5,000 affiliates. So people had tried our product. We have over 25,000 customers just in the United States. Because of this, it's just like it's become a movement. And this movement is about doing rewarding work. The most rewarding work, or why are we here? Well, it's to do something positive and try to make a positive change. Because if we don't, I have kids. I have a 4-year-old, 20-year-old. I have grandkids. Really, it's their future, and we're just trying to make it better. So if you're a young person, you got a lot of work to do ahead of you. Likely, maybe you don't, but um, we're here for everyone. And the reality is, find a mentor. Not every mentor is perfect, but you find one, it leads you to another. And really, I'm a student of life, and I'm a culmination of all my teachers.
That makes a lot of sense and everything. I'm glad you mentioned discernment and everything like that, because sometimes the people that are there supporting you aren't always got your back and everything like that. Because I have also realized that sometimes people are there that you either have to, sometimes you have to deal with them, but you also have to know how to handle them by having them at a six distance and everything like that. Because sometimes there are people that, for whatever reasons, you may still have to deal with them, even though you have discerned that they are not the best for you, and all along those lines. Because I have run across those as well, and I'm sure you have also. Some people that you have to keep in your circle for whatever reasons, but you also know that they are not the healthiest for your business, so you have to keep them at kind of like an arm's length, for lack of a better term, and everything like that. So I think we've all had those people in business and everything like that. The last thing that I'm going to play this commercial to get us on out of here and everything like that, but there is a guy from Oklahoma. I think he's out of Tulsa, but he honors both the teachers as well as the support staff. So he honors not just the teachers, but also the guidance counselors. And my mother was a guidance counselor way back when I was a baby and everything like that. And I have relatives, including my grandmother, that was a cafeteria worker. And I've got friends that have been resource officers and even the janitors and folks like that and coaches and things like that. So I just wondered if there is a teacher in your life that really impacted you before I play this commercial to get us on out of here and everything like that. Because this is a gentleman from Tulsa that I think for several years has been doing these awards where he is honoring both the teachers and the support staff. So if there was either a teacher or a support staff, maybe it was a coach, maybe it was a janitor, maybe it was a resource officer, and it can be more than one, but is there somebody that really impacted you either in your high school or your college background?
Yeah, I would just say my father. I was lucky to have good men in my life, and I keep that as a huge blessing. I've had good men all around me. I've had men that trusted me. I had men that were allowed me to express myself and trusted me enough to push further, to make mistakes. So I was very lucky to have a good father, and basically that would be the person I would say who gave me the confidence, even though he just let me do whatever like my heart desired. But you're gonna make mistakes, and I'm appreciative, and that the mistakes did happen because you're allowed to fail, but you can never fail. But you can take the pressure off yourself because you're only human. And if you're only human, just realize that we're all put the pants on the same every day, and we all make mistakes. It's if we learn from them or not.
I appreciate you. You've been a great guest. I appreciate you being here on the dinner party. Like I said, sometimes it's a solo guest, as I had 2 weeks ago and had you this time. Sometimes it's a multiple guests, but it's always a good conversation, whether it's one or whether it's 4 or 5. But definitely, I enjoyed learning about your product and learning about your philosophies and everything along those lines. So we'll go out with this particular commercial, but you were a great guest, and I appreciated having you on the online dinner party, and we'll see you later and everything like that. So thanks for being a guest. Hopefully we'll get you back in the near future for further conversations, but definitely you were a great guest, and hopefully we'll see you on future episodes as well. But thank you, John, for being an amazing guest, and definitely want folks to check out your product as well. So you did tell them how you can reach them, but right now let's get on out of here with this particular award show from the Tulsa folks and all along those lines. But thank you, John, for being on. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop.
I want to thank everyone for coming to the 2020 TAF Awards. This was a show like no other, people. This is the Grammys for dignitaries, educators, and support staff around the state of Oklahoma and worldwide. We cannot do this without the support of the people. So we thank you, I thank you for being such a dedicated supporter to this movement for the Teachers Appreciation Foundation. I thank you. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop.
It's time for Bible or Babble. Gather round for your new favorite show. If you little work, show 'em what you know. Let's go. Bible or Babble. It's Bible. Let's go. Calling every saint, we gon' put you to the test. See who know that B.I.B. a little best. Bible or Babble. It's Bible. Let's go.
Ladies, there's a brand new male species in town, and it's called the Bella Fella. Bella is essential. Wherever you go, whatever you do, wherever you are, just ask NFL Super Bowl legend Willie Parker. The Bella Fella cannot go anywhere without his Bella Couture essential oils, designed for the man of the night. Bella, it's not just a product, it's a lifestyle. Bella Couture by Jenna Law.
How you holding up? Nothing wrong with getting help.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.